Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The story of Tyreek Hill's offseason with the Miami Dolphins has been one of rumors, speculation, and a few tense moments, but ultimately it's ending with the star wide receiver staying put, at least for now. Back in January, whispers began to grow louder when Hill himself hinted at the possibility of leaving Miami, sending shockwaves through the fan base and the league. Many thought the situation was headed toward an inevitable trade, especially given how quickly NFL relationships can sour. Yet, despite the noise, there was never an official trade request from Hill's camp, and the conversations between player and team didn't spiral into public disputes. In fact, within weeks, both sides had reportedly patched things up, restoring a sense of stability to the relationship. Since then, Hill's public comments and demeanor have suggested commitment, and though his name kept appearing in off-season chatter, the internal stance from the Dolphins remained steady. They weren't in the business of moving him. According to Jeff Howe of The Athletic, Miami's front office never showed any genuine interest in dealing away their five-time All-Pro during the offseason. That's a crucial detail because it shifts the narrative from almost traded to never close. This wasn't a case of the Dolphins reluctantly holding on to Hill because they couldn't find a suitable offer. It was more about a deliberate decision to keep their most explosive offensive weapon. With the regular season only weeks away, this signals that the team is fully intent on competing with its current core intact. Hill, now 31, is still one of the most dynamic playmakers in the game, capable of flipping a contest with a single touch. Letting go of that kind of talent right before the season would be a self-inflicted wound, and Miami's leadership seems fully aware of that fact. The Dolphins' vision for 2025 still clearly has Hill as a central figure. Of course, that hasn't stopped other teams from circling like sharks. As ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reported via Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, rival franchises continue to monitor Hill's situation from afar, waiting for even the smallest crack in the armor. The intrigue is amplified by Hill's contract situation, particularly the $15.85 million option bonus due on August 31st, as noted by Over the Cap. Financially speaking, if Miami were to trade him, doing so before that date would be optimal for both cash flow and salary cap flexibility. That's the kind of deadline that can spark last-minute calls and surprise moves in the NFL. However, all indications point to the Dolphins ignoring those external pressures. They have their eye on a playoff push, not a rebuild, and removing Hill from the equation would make their path to contention much steeper. Still, other general managers know the NFL can change overnight, so they'll keep watching. Fowler also confirmed that Miami fielded inquiries earlier this offseason, but swiftly rejected them, a clear signal of their commitment. That kind of decisiveness isn't always common in the NFL, where leverage games and open-ended discussions can drag on. Instead, Miami's stance was blunt. Hill isn't going anywhere. Yet Fowler did acknowledge that the continued interest from other teams could be wishful thinking more than genuine opportunity. Miami does have one of the pricier rosters in the league, and the organization spent the offseason emphasizing a shift towards stronger locker room culture and accountability. That combination, big contracts and a culture reset, can sometimes mean difficult personnel decisions. But here, it appears the Dolphins view Hill as an essential part of that vision rather than an obstacle to it. The idea of shipping him out just doesn't align with their 2025 blueprint. The logic behind keeping Hill goes beyond sentiment. He is the heartbeat of Miami's offensive identity, and removing him would almost certainly diminish the effectiveness of quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who has developed undeniable chemistry with the speedster. Tagovailoa's quick-release passing style works in perfect harmony with Hill's ability to create separation in a blink. Without him, defenses could focus more on Jalen Waddle or clog up the middle, forcing the Dolphins into a more predictable offensive rhythm. And while Miami boasts several explosive playmakers, Hill's presence forces opponents into uncomfortable defensive schemes, opening opportunities for others. His role isn't just about statistics, it's about gravitational pull on the field, and there's no cap space savings that can truly replace that. Still, Miami's roster isn't without flaws. The lack of depth along the offensive and defensive lines is a legitimate concern, especially when facing physical AFC opponents in December and January. The cornerback situation also raises eyebrows, with injuries and inconsistency potentially leaving them vulnerable to top passing attacks. These weaknesses could, in theory, tempt a team to sacrifice a superstar for a package that bolsters multiple positions. But given the timing, with the preseason nearing its close, such a move would be highly disruptive. Adding quality linemen or secondary help at this stage is difficult, and the trade-off of losing Hill's production might be too steep for any short-term gain. In many ways, Miami's best hope is to ride their stars and hope health and scheme can mask the depth issues. When rumors first surfaced about Hill's dissatisfaction, it was easy to imagine a scenario where both sides agreed to a split. NFL. History is littered with examples of superstar divorces that seemed unthinkable until they happened. Think Randy Moss leaving Minnesota or DeAndre Hopkins being traded from Houston. But this situation never truly reached that level of urgency. The communication channel stayed open, and both Hill and the Dolphins were careful not to escalate the situation in public. That level of professionalism likely made it easier to find common ground and avoid a messy breakup. It's also a reminder that not every trade rumor has legs. Sometimes the noise is just that, noise. And in Hill's case, the noise has faded into a renewed commitment to Miami's goals. Looking ahead, the August 31st deadline for Hill's bonus remains the final checkpoint for any last-minute drama. Once that date passes, it becomes even more unlikely that Miami would entertain offers, given the financial implications and the closeness to Week 1. At that point, the focus will fully shift to on-field performance and Miami's quest to challenge the AFC's elite. The Dolphins' schedule won't be forgiving, and they'll need every ounce of Hill's speed, agility, and big play potential to keep up with powerhouses like Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo. In that sense, Hill's value goes beyond what any trade package could provide. He's not just a player, he's a game plan breaker. In the end, the 2025 offseason will be remembered less for a Tyreek Hill trade that never happened, and more for the way Miami shut down the speculation. They didn't waver, didn't shop him quietly, and didn't use the rumors as leverage. They simply held firm. Whether that decision pays off in wins remains to be seen, but it certainly sends a message to the locker room. If you're part of this team's core, the organization has your back. That kind of stability can go a long way in a sport where uncertainty is the norm. Hill may have briefly considered his future elsewhere, but for now, that future is painted in aqua and orange. So as training camp winds down and the preseason concludes, Dolphins fans can breathe a little easier knowing their offensive centerpiece will be on the field come September. The NFL is unpredictable, and circumstances can change in an instant, but this feels like a chapter that's closed, at least until the next off-season cycle begins. Hill will line up alongside Waddle, terrorize secondaries, and give Miami a safe fighting chance in every game they play. And while the trade rumor mill will inevitably spin again next year, for now, Tyreek Hill remains exactly where the Dolphins want him, in Miami, wearing number 10, ready to chase another shot at glory. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments, what's your take on the Fins this week? Breaking news is hitting the NFL world like a lightning bolt today, and it involves none other than Tyreek Hill, the electric wide receiver whose name alone sends defenses scrambling. Sources close to the Dolphins locker room suggest that Hill made statements recently that have left fans and analysts completely stunned. The buzz is that Hill hinted at a potential departure from Miami in 2026, a revelation that could reshape the team's future in ways nobody anticipated. Imagine the shockwaves this would send through the AFC, where Hill has been a constant nightmare for opposing defenses. People are already speculating about which teams might be willing to make a blockbuster offer to secure one of the fastest, most dynamic players in the league. Social media is erupting, with fans, pundits, and insiders dissecting every word he reportedly said, trying to find the hidden meaning behind his comments. The Dolphins front office has yet to officially respond, but the rumor mill is spinning faster than ever. Word is that Hill's comments were made in a seemingly casual setting, yet insiders claim the tone hinted at something deeper, a brewing decision that could shock Miami. The timing of this statement couldn't be more explosive, coinciding with speculation around the Dolphins' long-term plans, salary cap maneuvering, and the potential reshuffling of star players in the next few years. Fans are debating whether this is a subtle warning to the organization or a heartfelt consideration of his career trajectory, possibly eyeing greener pastures elsewhere. Analysts are suggesting that Hill might be testing the waters for a mega contract extension, or alternatively signaling that he's open to exploring options in 2026. The rumor has even caused a flurry of mock trade scenarios, each wilder than the last, as sports networks scramble to quantify the possible ripple effects. People can't stop talking about it, and every word Hill utters from now until then will be dissected, amplified, and analyzed for hidden clues about his ultimate intentions, creating a narrative frenzy in the NFL landscape. Some believe that Hill's comments were a calculated move to gain leverage over the Dolphins' management, especially with his contract set to enter a crucial stage soon. The conversation in NFL circles is heating up, with former players, commentators, and insiders weighing in on the likelihood of Hill actually walking away. Rumors are spreading that multiple teams, including perennial contenders and emerging franchises, are already putting feelers out, quietly exploring whether acquiring Hill in 2026 could change their championship prospects. Meanwhile, Dolphins fans are polarized, with some expressing outrage and disappointment, while others are rationalizing that the team is built around him and might be able to convince him to stay. Every angle is being scrutinized, from team chemistry to coaching, philosophies, and the speculation is creating a surreal atmosphere that feels almost unprecedented in recent years. Even casual observers are now glued to updates, waiting for the next nugget of information that could either confirm or refute the rumor. Adding fuel to the fire, reports indicate that Hill's social media activity has subtly hinted at dissatisfaction or contemplation, sparking further debate among fans and media. A cryptic post here, a subtle comment there, and suddenly the rumor feels more real than ever. NFL insiders are connecting dots, drawing conclusions about Hill's mindset and potential career moves, and the speculation is reaching a fever pitch. Agents and executives are likely paying close attention, considering what preemptive strategies could be implemented to either retain Hill or capitalize on his potential departure. Sports talk shows are running segment after segment, analyzing his performance trends, team dynamics, and possible motivations behind his cryptic statements. The rumor has essentially become a national conversation, capturing attention far beyond Miami and the Dolphins fan base. The way Hill's next steps are interpreted will not only affect the Dolphins' future, but could influence league-wide strategies in terms of free agency, trades, and star retention policies. Within the Dolphins organization, insiders suggest there's a mix of anxiety and strategic planning as executives try to prepare for every potential outcome. If Hill truly plans to leave in 2026, the team would need to consider rebuilding or aggressively restructuring to maintain competitiveness. Coaches and personnel are reportedly assessing how his absence could impact offensive schemes, recruitment priorities, and locker room morale. At the same time, they may attempt to read between the lines of Hill's comments, interpreting whether it's a negotiation tactic or a genuine intention to seek a new chapter elsewhere. Meanwhile, rival teams are undoubtedly taking mental notes, imagining how adding a player of Hill's caliber could shift power dynamics across conferences. The mere possibility of his departure has injected tension, excitement, and endless speculation into the league, fueling discussions that range from practical roster considerations to wild dream trade scenarios. The rumor continues to swirl like a storm, with no clear resolution in sight. Social media has become a digital battleground, with fans passionately debating Hill's motives and the implications for the Dolphins. Hashtag campaigns, reaction videos, and memes have exploded, capturing the drama and uncertainty surrounding the situation. Influencers, journalists, and former players are dissecting every word, gesture, and interview clip, building narratives that blend fact, interpretation, and conjecture. Meanwhile, sports analysts are projecting financial and performance implications, calculating how Hill's potential move could alter contracts, draft picks, and even the Dolphins standing within the AFC. The chatter has reached such intensity that casual football enthusiasts who might never follow the Dolphins are suddenly invested, eagerly awaiting confirmation or denial of the rumor. Hill's influence extends far beyond the field. He is shaping a conversation that could dominate NFL discourse for months, perhaps years. In this atmosphere, even the smallest hint from Hill can ignite speculation into a full-blown frenzy. Interestingly, insiders suggest that Hill's rumored plans might also intersect with personal goals, lifestyle considerations, and long-term career ambitions, adding layers of complexity to the situation. Beyond football, Hill is a global brand, a social media presence, and a player with endorsement, deals, philanthropic commitments, and personal projects that may influence his decision. This makes the rumor not just a matter of sport, but a broader cultural and business story, as every aspect of his career trajectory comes under scrutiny. Fans, media, and team executives are trying to understand how all these factors interplay, interpreting subtle signals and weighing the probability of various outcomes. Each analysis adds to the swirling speculation as people attempt to predict whether Hill's next move is primarily financial, competitive, personal, or a combination of all three. The uncertainty keeps the rumor alive and vibrant, dominating conversations across platforms. Some experts argue that even if Hill does leave the Dolphins in 2026, the team may still benefit from the attention and heightened expectations surrounding his potential exit. Media coverage, social engagement, and speculation-driven hype can drive ticket sales, merchandising, and national exposure. However, there's also the risk that prolonged uncertainty could unsettle teammates, affect morale, and disrupt long-term planning. The Dolphins' management faces a delicate balancing act, needing to maintain stability while navigating the wild currents of rumor and media scrutiny. At the same time, Hill's rumored intentions could embolden other players to evaluate their own futures, creating a ripple effect across the league. The intrigue surrounding this situation is unprecedented in its intensity, blending sports, business, and celebrity culture in a way few NFL stories have managed to achieve. Every development is magnified, debated, and dissected endlessly. Meanwhile, rival teams are reportedly ramping up scouting efforts, looking at how Hill might fit into different offensive schemes and what trades or acquisitions could facilitate his arrival. Hypothetical scenarios range from jaw-dropping blockbuster moves to strategic low-key maneuvers, each discussed in podcasts, live shows, and fan forums. Analysts consider everything from salary cap logistics to coaching compatibility, roster, fit, and the potential for a dramatic shift in competitive balance. Even casual fans are drawn in, imagining their favorite team acquiring one of the most explosive players in the league. The rumor has evolved from a simple report into a complex web of speculation, strategy, and anticipation. Everyone is trying to predict the unpredictable, knowing that Hill's decision could reshape not just one franchise, but the broader landscape of the NFL. Some say that the real drama is just beginning, as Hill's next comments, contract negotiations, and on-field performance will all be interpreted as signs pointing toward 2026. The rumor is feeding a feedback loop where speculation drives media coverage, which in turn drives fan discussion, which then fuels more speculation. In this environment, even innocuous interviews could be mined for clues, amplified, and dissected across platforms. Meanwhile, Dolphins executives must consider the long-term implications of Hill's rumored intentions, balancing immediate performance with strategic planning. It's a tense, fascinating, and slightly chaotic scenario that demonstrates the power of rumor in sports culture. Tyreek Hill's potential departure is no longer just a possibility. It has become a narrative that dominates conversations, headlines, and social media trends, capturing the imagination of the entire football world. As the rumor spreads, insiders hint that the drama surrounding Tyreek Hill might not only affect the Dolphins, but could influence league-wide trends in player movement, contract negotiations, and star retention strategies. Teams are observing, analyzing, and planning in real time, while fans eagerly await updates that could confirm or crush their theories. The speculation continues to spiral, with endless hypothetical scenarios filling conversations, podcasts, and sports news coverage. Hill's electrifying presence on the field is mirrored by the intensity of discussions off the field, making him one of the most talked about figures in the NFL today. Every play, every interview, and every social media post carries the potential to stoke the rumor further, keeping the narrative alive and captivating audiences nationwide. Whether he stays or leaves, Tyreek Hill has already become a central figure in one of the NFL's most dramatic and tantalizing stories of recent times. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.